This week, we sit down with G.E. Moore, author of Bealz Prince of the Southside. We chop it up about how he created the mythology of the book, how an unusual teaching strategy got him into writing, and Black Men Read. Want to find out more? Stay here and find out more about what Demond does. DJ Prime, play the music. Welcome to Demond Does Conversations with Creatives. This is your nerd space safe place and where you may find your new fave. I am Demond, father of two, husband of one, and leader of this here Demodcast. My next guest is a former educator who loves to take pictures of wild mushrooms and flowers. This acclaimed artist and writer found his true purpose when he became a father. Ladies and gentlemen, or wherever you fit on the non-binary spectrum, give it up for G.E. Moore!
Greetings, blessings.
How you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. And yourself?
I am fabulous, thank you. Thank you for taking time out to talk to a perfect stranger.
Hey, no problem, man. Thank you for the invite.
You got it. Before we get into our creative conversation, where would you like to be found on the internet?
Where you can go to find links to all of my social media accounts, and you can find links to some of my work, my books, my art, opinion pieces, movie reviews, and whatnot. All that can be found on my website. That's gemorethewriter.com.
Are you ready to have a creative conversation?
Hey, let's get into it.
When did you know you wanted to be a writer?
I didn't really know what to call it when the idea first occurred to me that this is what I wanted to do. This is something that I like to do. But I was definitely in high school when the idea started to solidify. But I've been dabbling with writing and messing around with it since I was much younger. But definitely in high school. Shout out to my sophomore and junior year English teacher, Miss Lauderdale. She recognized my talent and encouraged me to pursue it and told me that this is something that she thought that I'd be capable of doing. Never occurred to me before then. So I can trace it back to that moment for sure.
That's awesome. Now, did you immediately jump into like short stories and longer stories like that? Or did you also do poetry or write music or songs, I guess?
Strangely enough, the very first thing that I wrote that I shared with her, and just to let you know what kind of student I was also, the class assignment was to write an essay. I don't remember what the topic was. My home life was problematic. So I didn't do the assignment. One of the last minute things. I had this idea and I wrote probably a 7 or 8 page play. And I turned that in instead of the essay. And instead of her freaking out, stamping a big red F on it, she actually enjoyed it. And she called me in so that we could talk about it.
Wow, that's really cool. This was Miss Lauderdale?
Yes.
That is incredible.
Yeah. Shout out to a good educator, man. You know, they're important.
That's a tough gig.
For sure.
What grade did you get on the play?
Because, again, it wasn't the assignment. But she did give me a B-.
That had to be a heck of a play for you to not do the assignment, do something completely different, still get a B?
I think she was just happy that I had actually turned in an assignment, you know.
Instead of seeing defiance or anything else or whatever she could have seen, she saw a gift, and that's awesome. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah. I will never forget it, and I will always be grateful for it.
What do you wish you had known when you first started out?
Specifically, from that origin, from that moment, everything else that I did was piecemeal. I had to put it together myself. I had to figure it out myself, like where to submit, what to write, how to write. I had to learn all that stuff myself. But what I wish that I would have known, and I would have been able to dedicate more time and attention to the craft, was that writing is a professional endeavor. The type of writing that I was pursuing, that it is a professional endeavor. And there came a time that I had to recognize that I was a talented amateur. So I had to refocus and really teach myself the fundamentals and how to write a story, how to craft and construct a poem. I had to learn all that stuff on my own. But it would have been much easier if I would have been more open to advice.
Do you have any mentors now?
No, I can't say that I do as far as like writing is concerned. I do have some peers that I like to share like ideas with. I do have a pretty good relationship with my publisher who offers me his attention and his opinion on whatever it is that I'm working on. He's really enthusiastic about my work. Yeah, for the most part, I've been operating in a bubble.
Where did you get the inspiration for the mythology of Bealz Prince of the Southside?
Most everything that I write, even with my novel, I identify as a poet first. So I see these as long epics, as an extended form of poetry for me. But the actual idea came when my son was just entering junior high school, and I was in a transitional period myself at that time. My youngest son had just been born. He was about 2 years old, and I had been writing down a lot of story ideas, just 1 or 2 page, like quick drafts of an overall story concept. I had dozens of them. And for some reason, this one stuck out to me. So I kept going back to it. Eventually started to expand on it. And I didn't really know what I was doing with it at first. It eventually became sort of a writing exercise for me, something that I would work on and try to complete at least a chapter a week so that I could share it with my son, trying to get him interested in actually reading and following along with these adventures. And that's how I crafted the characters with young Black boys in mind. The world and the mythology that I created was created with my people in mind. I want us to be able to read this and to recognize ourselves, to recognize the environments, and to recognize the situations that the characters have to deal with. So it was born almost 10 years ago. The development process, long and drawn out. Again, I was teaching myself. I was learning how to write while I was writing the novel.
What's your go-to order at your favorite hometown restaurant?
Well, Thomas Wolfe said you can't go home again. You can't go home. And that's one of my greatest disappointments when I go back home. First of all, since I left, I've become more or less a pesco paleo vegetarian. Pesco polo vegetarian. So the only meat I consume is chicken and fish. So I can't go back to my favorite burger joint. It was Krekel's Custard. Made awesome burgers, man. So I can't go there and enjoy anything on their menu. And the Chinese food place, the China House that I loved, I would hit up at least once or twice a week. After like 40 years, they were sold. The family sold the restaurant to another family, and they moved back to China. And the new family completely changed the menu, and I don't like the food anymore. So I'm lost, man. I don't have any favorites to go back home to anymore, unfortunately.
I think that's the first time I've heard that said on this question with this question.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
That is unfortunate.
Yeah.
What is your current favorite that's still with us?
My current favorite, I'm in the south suburbs of Chicago, and there's this awesome Chinese restaurant around the corner from me. I hit them up so much that when I call, they see my number, they know who I am, and they know what I'm ordering.
What are you curious about?
I am curious about love. life. I find wonder in most everything, dude, that I interact with. I love the written language. I love to explore language and the structure of it. I love esoteric shit. I've done a lot of studying, just personal study. People say this. I'm no expert on any of this. It's just all through my love of it. I study a lot of quantum physics, as much as I can, try to get a surface level understanding of stuff like that. So those are the type of things that I love to dive into. They help me like develop some of my ideas. I just try to stay open about most everything, but I will spend a lot of time with something simple, like reading a dictionary. Guilty. you know. So I love language. I love to dive into it. I love to find the connections in it. I love to study the root words, like how the language developed. So that probably is one of my main sources of curiosity.
What's an interesting bit of trivia about words or language that you learned that blows people's minds?
Most interesting to me is how how words and language are alive. I don't know that everyone thinks of it in that context, but African Americans in particular are some of the most innovative people on the planet as far as the continued development of language. It's stigmatized, but that stigma is misplaced because language is constantly evolving. It's never stagnant. And an imaginative, as an artful people, we are the main contributors to its continued growth and development.
What should I ask you that I didn't know enough to ask?
Well, I think most people who meet me, interact with me, and sometimes spend maybe years around me will be surprised to know that I played all 4 years in the orchestra when I was in high school, and I played 2 years in college. Never rose beyond second chair viola, but I was in there.
What did you play?
Viola, the big brother to the violin.
Why did you pick that?
Nothing interesting. I started playing when I was in the fourth grade, and when the band and the orchestra teacher came through the classrooms recruiting to try to find anyone interested, I raised my hand and I showed up after school, at the practice, after my parents had signed the permission slip, and that was what was available to play. So, I got there a little too late to pick up on the cello. Somebody already grabbed the cello. The school didn't own a bass, and they only had viola. Well, so that's what it was.
Do you still pick it up?
It's been so long. No,
No.
no.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons that people would be surprised, anyone who's met me in the last 20, 30 years would be surprised that it was a big part of my life like that. Because I haven't played in a long time.
None of your kids picked it up, huh?
Well, I tried. Yeah, they weren't. I had my one of my sons played the cello, and as a matter of fact, you asked me if I picked it up in a while. I traded my viola in to buy him a cello that he only played for 1 year. Completely lost interest after that year.
That happens.
Yeah, yeah,
That happens.
yeah. The joys of parenthood, right?
Yeah. Yeah. If you could create a new holiday, what would it commemorate?
If I could create a new holiday, I would want it to be something community oriented, community focused, and something that would be meaningful and would have a meaningful impact on the community. So, in my mind, what's often missing, what's often overlooked, is that generational connection. So, my holiday will center around Black men. I think that that demographic is important because of our typical absence. But so for Black men and Black women to take some time out of their day to read to kids, community-wide effort, whether that be in churches and in schools, libraries, wherever. I think that focus, if we could do that just one day a year, then it would grow and spread from there.
What would you name the day?
See, it would be easier if I hadn't included everyone else, but Black Men Reads would be cool.
It's your holiday, so you can call it what you want.
Yeah, so it's Black Men Reading, so we read.
What day would you choose?
It would be in February. You know, we got to ride the wave while we can, and so we get a lot of Black History Month publicity in February, so I would center around that month, just for the optics, keep it in people's consciousness. Sometimes these kids aren't interested in these activities like reading and discovering on their own because they haven't been introduced to it.
Why create?
Why create? I don't know that I could not create. As an artist, it's I almost want to say it's a compulsion. You know, it's something in me that I have to do. My brother tells a story about coming back to town after being gone for years and years, riding in the car with me. And it really tripped him out how I always kept some paper and a pencil with me, no matter what, even when I'm driving. And sometimes when it hits me, as I'm driving down the road, I have to write this stuff down. No, it's a compulsion. So I create because I don't have a choice. I believe this is an infinite gift. I am eternally grateful. I never take it for granted. It's hard, man. You know, I've made a decision to pull out all the stops and to pursue my art, to pursue my writing. I've been at this full steam since the pandemic when I walked out of a classroom. So at this point, I create because I don't have a choice. I couldn't stop if I were ordered to. You know, the universe wouldn't allow it.
Gee, Mr. Moore, thank you very much.
No problem.
Final thoughts. I don't think we have ever appreciated teachers in the United States, and now more than ever, we need those that don't just punch the clock, they lock in. Also, I love the thought that there's no other alternative than to create. I think that almost all of us have art that we're holding on to. So go out there, create your art, and just enjoy creating it. Thank you for joining us, whether it's your first time or this time. If you like what you heard, tell the world. Like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube, or go to your favorite podcast app and leave a 5-star review. Either way will help more join the conversation. And until next time, see it, hear it, speak it, live.